What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Beers, Toys, Wrestling BTW Podcast. I'm Nate Gleason, joined with the usual guys, Lance Johnson. Okay, and Dustin Hayward.
Yo.
And we got another special guest today. Wade, say hi.
Hi, guys. I wouldn't consider myself special. Just another schmuck. We lost Lance. I'm going to turn my camera off too then.
Alrighty. So Wade, go ahead and just and give yourself a little introduction here.
Oh, geez. Name's Wade Fry. I reside in the Metro Detroit area. Married, got a kid. Collect just about anything that catches my eye. Nothing specific. High end, low end. Not a big drinker, but I do enjoy wrestling and all facets.
Excellent.
Nothing else too crazy.
Well, we're glad to have you join us today. So let's kick it right off with the beer portion. So first of all, we'll go around. What's everybody drinking today? Wade, go ahead, kick us off on that.
Well, the wife just found me. I picked it up earlier. We both had a couple drinks of that Terramana tequila The Rock makes. Not too bad. I mean, I'm not an aficionado to tell you exactly about it, but the darker one that's got the vanilla in it tastes way better than the regular one. But I mean, like, to me, tequila's tequila. But
yeah,
The Rock.
Yep, because Lord knows he needs all the support he can get. He's struggling out there right now. That's good. You know what? It was interesting. I saw you post that today because I have been wanting to check that out myself. I have no clue because the liquor sales are regulated by the state here in New Hampshire. I have no clue whether that's going to be part of the stock they'll get into the state, but we have to try to check it out.
Well, my wife sent me some sort of website she found. Maybe it was the Terramana website that she literally typed in where we lived, and it showed the party stores around us that had it. And I called one and went and picked it up.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, I'll try that out. Hopefully, New Hampshire is one of the states they're doing. All right, Lance. As you said, you're already knee deep in it. So what have you been drinking?
So I went next weekend on Sunday-ish? No, Friday is my birthday. So you know how all right, my ladies are being rude. So you know how I tend to elevate certain things during certain events, right?
Oh, yes.
Yep. Birthday is one of them. So my birthday is going to coincide with Money in the Bank weekend. So I went this weekend and I went shopping at the state liquor store. So I got Jim Beam regular bourbon, which I'm going to mix with my 12-pack of Coke, cherry vanilla Coke, which I picked up. And then I got my usual Town Branch, which was my birthday present to myself because I love Town Branch bourbon. Mm-hmm. And I got the Jim Beam apple bourbon, which is what I'm currently drinking. And yeah, I'm currently about 3 sheets to the wind.
So what? How is that Jim Beam apple? Is it like super sweet?
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, it's not like drinking bourbon at all. It goes down so smooth. And it's one of those where you drink it and then you're like, oh, this is really good. And then you realize you're like almost the entire bottle in and you're sloshed. So that's what I'm at about now. So this could be a pretty interesting version of the podcast because I don't know what's coming out of my mouth.
Well, you're going to have to be 3 sheets to the wind to watch Money in the Bank this year.
Amen.
I disagree. No, I disagree. They're doing it like Die Hard in reverse. They're having the men's and women's Money in the Bank happen simultaneously. Why doesn't that excite you?
To have Nia Jax have to climb stairs? Oh, I'm so excited.
Okay, one.
Oh, I can't wait to see her
Nia
be
Jax
winded.
is winning
One
this.
and a half.
All right, so let me ask you this: Nia Jax, right? Big monster heel, dominant person. Is she the best wrestler in the world? No. But if you think someone other than Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are winning that Money in the Bank for the women, I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but those are the two women that would win it. And to be perfectly honest with you, Nia Jax going on a dominant heel run would be awesome. Shayna Baszler going on a more dominant heel run would be amazing because I watched her NXT title reign. So explain to me why either one of those two women should not be winning Money in the Bank.
Well, and let's save that discussion for.
Oh no, I'm doing it now.
The wrestling.
No, I'm bucking the trend. Let's do it now.
Nope, because we gotta get to Dustin first. Dustin, what you drinking tonight?
Well, I got a cherry Coke Zero energy drink with a little bit of Jim Beam honey in it.
There you go. That sounds interesting.
It's pretty nice.
So tonight I am drinking another local brew from Backyard Brewery called Cherry Jubilee. It is a cherry pie sour, and it's interesting. It's very interesting. You don't get a ton of cherry flavor, but they tried to kind of like emulate a crust flavor in it.
That last statement.
Yeah. Say again?
I just want him to repeat that last statement about the cherry flavor. Because she's my cherry pie.
Yeah. It's not prominent, is what I said.
Nate, you and I at some point are going to have a discussion.
Says the guy who wanted to keep this professional the entire time. Alrighty.
I came into this 3 feet to the wind, so yeah. You're not going to get any better right now.
So, Wade.
Yes.
Before we dive back into the wrestling talk here, you said you're not a huge drinker, but what is your usual go-to stuff?
I tell you what, my absolute favorite drink in the whole world is a perfect margarita from Applebee's. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's top shelf or whatever they use to make it, but I mean, like, I could drink a margarita or like a whiskey sour just about anywhere, but like something about this Applebee's perfect margarita, you find yourself like, I don't know, drink, and then you're, like I said, you get up to go to leave, and you're like, oh, whoa, wait a second.
Oh, yeah.
I need to go lay down.
All right, so whiskey sours, how do you prefer it? With the egg white or without the egg white?
Oh, God, no egg whites. If I can help it, I mean, like, just like egg in anything that's not cooked, I'm a little against.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Now, do you ever go to any breweries out there, or is beer just something you kind of just stay away from?
You know what? I every once in a while I call them a choose your own adventure. You know, where you go to the grocery store, can of all the different brews. If something catches my eye, like to me, I'm not. To me, a beer just tastes like a beer for the most part. Like every once in a while, I could try like a Berry Weiss or whatever. I try. I'm like, I can taste berries in that. But I got buddies, even like in high school on, where they're like, oh my God, this tastes just like a cherry pie. And I tried. I'm like, that just tastes like beer. Like I don't know what you guys are talking about. So if I do, I'll go and spend the money on 6 individual beers just to try them. But as far as breweries and stuff go out here, I can't say I've been to anything local. There's a place in here called the World of Beers. It's a restaurant. There's a couple of them around here. I don't know if they're all over the place. It's one of those bars that has like 100 of them there.
Yeah, I've actually been to the one in Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Okay.
And I'll tell you that is an impressive setup they have there. I think the one in Jacksonville is like one of the first locations, so they have like 200 taps there. It's insane.
Yeah, I'll go there and try one or two. Like I like if they have like a like not a hard cider, but a hard cider. You know what I mean? Like I won't drink a bottled one, but you go there and it's something made in made in Traverse City with cherries, or made over here with apples, or whatever. Like it's local, give it a try. Or they've even had locally brewed like root beer. It's like, all right, I'll give that a try. It's not bad.
Awesome. Alrighty. So I guess we'll go against the grain here and dive back into the wrestling talk. So Lance, you keep going on your tirade here. Let's do this.
I legitimately forgot what my tirade was because, like I said, I've been drinking since 1 or 2 p.m. So, in terms of tirade, yeah, I just, wrestling-wise, why would you not want Nia Jax or Shayna Baszler to have the Money in the Bank for the women's side? For the men's side, I'm not as excited. I honestly think that based off of what they did with the John Cena, Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse match and the bone match between Styles and Taker, like, I'm legitimately excited for this Money in the Bank match at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, which is just a mere 3-hour drive at this point because there's no traffic. If there was traffic, it would be like 7.5. Like, them starting at the ground floor and having to work their way up at the corporate ladder. I don't know why you don't want to see that, and B, don't want Bray Wyatt's Vince McMahon puppet to be in Vince McMahon's chair to allow whoever is gonna wrestle on top of the roof to wrestle on top of the roof. Like, to me,
all right,
it's fucking gold.
Although we could post what ifs all day, but at the end of the day, Vince isn't still in charge of WWE, and Nia Jax is not skinny enough or pretty enough for Vince to be nothing more than a transitional champion.
Yeah,
it sucks.
I would
it sucks a lot.
Completely agree with that.
But he could. You're right. If Nia Jax becomes champion, she becomes champion in Royal Rumble and goes on a 2-month tirade just to get destroyed by the face at WrestleMania. That's what Nia Jax is. She's not. Shayna Baszler, on the other hand, I don't know. Triple H gave her the rub at NXT. I couldn't tell you. I don't know if they're slowly starting to make Becky heel too. Like, she's becoming more and more douchey like as the weeks go on.
Yeah,
I think they're trying to make Becky the female Stone Cold, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I think that's a good idea. But I don't know that, having watched her from NXT all the way to where she is now, I don't know that I particularly like Becky as a Stone Coldish figure. I think
it has to happen organically, and they're trying to force it.
You're right, and I completely agree with you. And I think that when it happened organically, it was probably the time to strike on it was when she got injured, and she got her nose broken by Nia Jax, right, on that Monday Night Raw.
Super dangerous performer.
Yes. Nia Jax.
Another reason why I don't think you'll see Nia as champion, because she works way too stiff.
I I think you will
She's a battle royal in the 6-woman tag kind of wrestler. She's not a one-on-one 4 nights a week as champion and day in and day out wrestler.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think Vince. Well, so I don't disagree necessarily. I agree with you both, but I think Vince, at the end of the day, is gonna put Nia Jax in that position, and why? Because The Rock said so. And I love Dwayne. He and I share a last name. I love that man to death.
And you and The Rock share Johnson.
At the end of the day. I'm sorry?
He said you and The Rock also share another Johnson.
Well, that's strudel. Anyway, I really honestly 100% think that Vince will put Nia in that position, because if you look at the difference between NXT and Raw, right? You said, hey, Nia was in that position in NXT. A little bit until Asuka came along, right? And I think that Asuka is great, and I think that Nia is great, but I think what ends up happening is, for the main roster, Vince wants somebody that's a big monster heel, and you only have 2 choices at that point. It's either Nia Jax or it's Shayna Baszler. So do you put Shayna Baszler over as almost a Brock Lesnar-esque champion, or do you put Nia Jax over as a champion that just fucking Samoan drops all day, every day?
I can see your point about her, but it is also like, is she injury prone now too? You know what I mean? Like, there's just a million things that Nia Jax has done in her career that like Shayna Baszler hasn't. As far as dangerous, injured.
I personally am a huge fan of Shayna Baszler. If I were to anybody to have money in the bank, it's Shayna. But at the time, if you look at Nia, you say Nia's injury prone. Nia's had like 1 injury, and it kept her out for a while. So does that make her prone or not? I don't think it does, to be perfectly honest with you. Especially if you look at the competition, right? Let's go into AEW, right? AEW, their women's champion right now is I forget her name. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, she's the name. Oh, sorry. Let me. So AEW, their women's champion is the Native Beast, Nyla Rose, right? So Nyla Rose is basically Nia Jax. It's very similar gimmick. It's a very similar thing. I don't think that WWE in general is going to go ahead and say, oh yeah, you've got this over here, and we're just going to sleep on it. I think that WWE is going to end up with Nia Jax maybe as Money in the Bank winner, for the sole purpose of the fact that Nia Jax is huge and unstoppable, and that's how they book her character. I personally would rather see Shayna Baszler, especially after what they did with Sarah Logan. But again, I watched Shayna Baszler's 2-year career 2-year championship run in NXT, and that was fantastic.
So what about the other side of the coin then? So you're right, Nia Jax wins Money in the Bank. Does she cash in and win it, or does she cash in and she loses?
She cashes in and wins it.
Because you might be right. Vince could put it on her to see where she ends up in 6 months from now. If she's hot, maybe they'll give her the rub. But if she's not, then she'll go in and be like Baron Corbin.
Be one of the very few to choke.
Choke
You know what,
right at
though?
the end.
I don't
Yep.
think so. Women's Money in the Bank. How many women have cashed it in and failed? I don't think that there's
None yet.
any. The first two Money in the Bank winners were Carmella, right? It was Carmella with what's his name there, James Ellsworth, and then it was Carmella on her own.
Yeah, I'm not saying then we're due for somebody to lose Money in the Bank cash in. It's the Money in the Bank to me is kind of like the last four people at the Royal Rumble. When you're down to the last four, when you got like Batista and then you have like three jobbers, you know what I mean? You're like, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know who's taking
the
this.
three-man band and Batista. You know what I mean? So the Money in the Bank, you start to kind of look at it to see how it plays out.
Time out on three-man band because two out of the three of them are world champions right now.
Yeah, they got fired so they could go on a couple steroid cycles and come back about 60 pounds heavier. Vince let them go so they could
have won the money, have won the world title, right? You've got Drew McIntyre, and I would disagree with you on Drew McIntyre about how he went on steroids because he's about the same size that he was before, but Drew McIntyre is a beast. Jinder Mahal, that's a different scenario. If you're trying to tell me he went on steroids, I'm going to 100% agree with you because he probably did. Like, the back knee is insane.
Yeah. I don't believe he's natural in any way, shape, or form. Because
I don't think anybody. Does anybody?
I don't think so. McIntyre, I also agree that he probably is. I mean, he's been on Celtic Warrior workouts a couple times, and he said, to get in the shape that he was in, he mainly just trained more and cleaned up his diet. And with the way he looks, that I believe.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm Googling pictures of him right now, before and after, and it's... I don't know, Drew McIntyre, he's huge compared to when he was in three-man band.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's gained size without a doubt. I mean, he was not muscular back then.
That's 10 years ago. Right? Like, I'm not wrong. Am I wrong on that time frame? Three-man band was what, 2003?
No. It was way later than that. 2003 was still Badass Undertaker. Three-man band was probably, 2013, 2014?
I'm Googling it right now. They debuted in 2012 and disbanded in 2014.
Boom!
Okay, so 6 years. 6 years, McIntyre to add the size that he's added, probably pretty reasonable. Mahal, different scenario, especially because I watched back knee when he was doing his feud with Shinsuke. But that's
another one I hate. Speaking of Shinsuke,
you hate Shinsuke?
Listen, if I was in a room with Shinsuke Nakamura, Hitler, and Bin Laden, and I had a gun with 2 bullets, I'd shoot Shinsuke Nakamura twice.
Yikes! Hot take, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Wade, you need to explain that because I personally love Shinsuke. I want to know where you're coming from on this.
He isn't a bad wrestler. Like his technical prowess or his wrestling is all right, but that's the only thing he's got. Like the dancing and the kick. Like I don't know. Like I feel like he doesn't. Whatever his character is, he relies too heavily on like just like a watered down like I don't know. He just reminds me of like a Japanese like Ultimate Warrior that dances. You know, like doesn't like can't cut promos, or like if he's just playing up the whole thing that he doesn't speak English well. Maybe he speaks perfectly fluent English, but just him as I would rather watch paint dry. Like I'll watch WWE Divas match circa 2007 before I watched Shinsuke Nakamura match.
Oof. Yeah, you know what? And
he's my pee break.
I mean, I will agree with you in the fact that at least right now, the character he's doing right now, I don't really care for that much. I thought his matches with Styles were great.
The matches are good, but just everything else is just like I'm not invested.
That's fair. That's beyond fair.
I think WWE made a mistake in how they presented Shinsuke. I think that what they did with when he got to the main roster, because Wade, correct me if I'm wrong, do you NXT at all? Because it doesn't sound like you do.
I NXT, I'm in and out. I've just recently kind of got into it and my kids asked about it and stuff like that. But no, I've been a main roster kind of guy for a while. I dabble in everything else between that and like ROH and stuff like that. I like, I remember Kevin Steen. I remember, El Generico. I know all that stuff. But like when they get to NXT, I don't know. I'm not a big fan.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Did you watch Shinsuke Nakamura's run on NXT?
Oh no, I wouldn't. Ever since I've like even heard about him, like rather would watch paint dry. Like
okay.
Even in NXT,
and I think that's why Lance and I are bigger fans of him because his NXT run was amazing,
phenomenal. To steal AJ Styles' term, it was phenomenal. So what I would say, Wade, is, I'm not, what you like is what you like. I would say that NXT in general is probably geared towards more what you like. Watch Shinsuke's run on NXT. If you watch Shinsuke's run on NXT, his two main feuds are Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. And they are some of the most brutal, hard-hitting, beautiful, perfectly timed matches that you will ever see.
See, that's the other side of the argument. It's like Finn Balor, he'll have me, and he'll have the entire audience in the palm of his hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't feel that with Shinsuke. I feel like the WWE in the past 2.5 months has been such an eye-opener. Like, it is rough to watch without a crowd. It's even rougher to watch a wrestler who the crowd helped them be a wrestler.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of wrestlers being exposed right now, they go out there and you're just like, that's all you, like, without the crowd to ooh and ah and boo and cheer and oh and whatever catchphrase they got going on, you really seeing through the shiny veneer some of these wrestlers have put up as a super thinly veiled character.
Yeah, the cream is definitely rising to the top with...
For me, I would say that the people that had prior indie experience, they are showing up and showing out right now, to use a term, right? I think that where you run into issues are those people that have always been WWE. Now, there's a few exceptions to that. I would say that Baron Corbin is an exception to that. And I know people have issues with Baron Corbin. I have issues with him too. But I would say that he is an exception to that rule.
What don't you like about Baron Corbin?
He has a limited moveset. He's not flashy. But you know what? I will absolutely 100% say he is a great heel. He is
he makes you hate him. Absolutely.
Which is why I respect the guy beyond belief, because he does his job so well.
He's absolutely, everybody loves him because he's the safest in the entire locker room. They all say that.
He's safe, but at the same time, he's not flashy. And you know what? That's okay. He's he's a Ric Flair-esque heel. Ric Flair, and I was watching, I don't know if you guys watched the the Broken Skull sessions with Ric Flair. Ric Flair admitted he only has a couple kinds of offense. He had the chop, he had throwing the guy off the turnbuckle, and then he had the figure four. That was his entire offense as a heel. But where he got over was being a heel, being able to do those moves well, and I feel like that's Baron Corbin. I don't dislike him. Actually, it pains me to like him, and I think that's personality that he's A, and B, if you've ever followed his Instagram account is like me right now. I'm drinking bourbon and I'm grilling, and that's Baron Corbin's Instagram account.
And he's a big cigar buff too, which is 1,000,000 points in my book.
Yeah, I feel like there are a handful, I can count on probably one hand the amount of people that when they're heel, I hate them. And then I understand they're doing their job correctly. Like Randy Orton, Edge. Edge is a heel, but I will also tell you that I love the coward, underhanded, cheating heel more than I love the monster heel. I'll take your Baron Corbins, your Ric Flairs, your Edges any day over your Brock Lesnar's, your Kanes, or anything. And I hate the monster heel because it's like they don't like once you've beaten them, then they're beat.
Yeah, there's no real substance there.
Comeuppance. They don't get like what they deserve.
Yeah, and yet we still keep bringing Brock Lesnar in, and
Fuck Brock
well,
Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar's always going to come in. He's a MacGuffin.
Oh, yeah.
He's that thing that they write into comic book movies to kind of reset that they use to reset the continuity. That's Brock Lesnar. He comes in, slate gets wiped clean, and they can use him they can force feed him to whomever to get them the rub or get the belt off of them. Brock Lesnar's a
So what
completely
do you mean
utility
Brock
player.
Lesnar is Thanos?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, like you come in and he'll either get destroyed by Goldberg or destroy John Cena. You know what I mean? Like it's just depending on how he's written that night. His character is written like he's never one monster heel.
Yeah. In general, I'm a fan of Brock Lesnar. And I'm a fan of Brock Lesnar because of what he does and how he puts people over. Styles, Bryan, Ricochet. He's put them all over. After their matches, they've come out looking better than when they went in.
Did you guys know, a little caveat, you know that AJ Styles is like a super Christian? You know he doesn't like to cuss and stuff like that? Like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, I know.
So when they mess with, I love watching interviews or when they try to rib him and stuff. He's like, "Come here, you!" Like he's got a little tiny Southern voice. Like,
No, it's a wonderful dichotomy of character when you watch AJ as heel and stuff like that. Knowing who he is as a person, and then you watch him try to be the bad guy, and yet try not to throw in any of the cusses and stuff like that. It's really wonderful. It really is. So Wade, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but what I like to do when I bring guests in here is I like to get a little background of their wrestling fandom. So tell us how you started to become a fan, when you really got into it, your favorite stuff. Floor is yours. Tell us a story.
All right. Well, God, wrestling, as far as I know, I remember being a little kid watching it. Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. I was born in 84. So, like, 89, 90, 91, like that kind of stuff. I remember that wholeheartedly.
Just for a second. Nate, why is it everybody that you bring on here is younger than me? Like, I feel like I'm like the old man.
We're just rubbing it in your face.
Because you are.
Because we need geezers, and you are the best we can come up with.
So yeah, you can tell us about wrestling post World War II, pre and post World War II.
God damn it! No,
You can
I'm
tell
Wade.
how
Wait,
San
I'm only
Martino's
1 year
title.
older than you. Fuck you, Wade.
Tell us when
Someone to find
tell
out
us when
about
Vince
Bruno.
McMahon Sr. Tell us when Vince McMahon Sr. brought in like the Japanese and the Vietnam wrestlers and was
Tell
deaf
us
to
how the
America.
WWF was.
Yeah, the WWF.
Right. tell us about the 8-year Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah, how was Bruno Sammartino's first match? Was it cool? Like, to see it live?
You had this epic match between Bruno Sammartino and, oh God, I can't even, Bob Backlund. And it was amazing. It went 75 minutes long in Madison Square Garden, which was actually at the time a VFW hall.
The tickets cost 5 cents. It took me a month to save up for them.
Oh.
One beer was a shilling.
As far as like getting into wrestling on my own, I started watching wrestling like when Stone Cold kind of started taking off. Now I will say I kind of missed I didn't get into it right when DX formed. Like DX formed, and then like once DX formed, then Stone Cold kind of started taking off. Triple H was like, Shawn Michaels was the champ, and then champ material, and Triple H was still like the IC guy. I remember like that's when I started getting into it. I remember my uncle taking me, my little cousin. We went to Raw in Detroit where Stone Cold, The Rock threw Stone Cold and his broken skull belt off like a bridge into the Detroit River.
That's all. I mean, that is highlight reel material whenever The Rock and Stone Cold stuff comes up.
Listen, I can tell you. Okay, so I'll just give you I'll give you live shows I've been to. I've been to that. I've been to Raws and stuff like that. Now I went to what the fuck was Royal Rumble in like 2009, 2010 when I was in Detroit. Randy Orton won. I went for my bachelor party before I got married. I went to Wrestlemania 2012 in Miami when The Rock and John Cena fought. Oh. And let me tell you something, that nothing in any of those things, the pop match when Stone Cold's glass broke. When Stone Cold's glass broke, like the roof would just come out. Now I'm telling you, this is The Rock's first match back at WrestleMania against John Cena. Like that was a big pop in an open air arena, but there is nothing that could just match what Stone Cold can do.
It doesn't matter. I pop when I just listen to it on YouTube. So yeah, in an arena like that, I got to see him only once at a live show. Just a house show. This was the show was called Road to WrestleMania. It was right before WrestleMania. I don't know. I want to say 24 or something like that. It was the one where he fought Scott Hall.
That was like WrestleMania 17 or 18.
Was it?
Oh yeah. Now you ain't yourself.
Oof, I am. And the whole purpose of this tour, this Road to WrestleMania tour, was just, you knew it was people practicing their spots during the match, getting ready.
Absolutely.
For Mania. So the match, the headline match was Stone Cold versus Scott Hall, and I got to watch that go down. I was third row on the floor, so I got sprayed by beer, and awesome. I didn't realize, wasn't sure whether it was real beer at that time or not. So I was able to lick my hand and be like, "Holy shit, that's real beer."
Nate, that explains so much about you.
It really does.
But yeah, no, I remember being like a teen. I remember fighting with my mom in like middle school because Raw was from where I lived 9 to 11, 10. So like my mom I remember being like, my mom, you need to sleep. Okay, so it was like your bedtime's now. I remember being like 12 or 13 having this fight. Okay, 9 to 10. Okay, 9 to 11. Like, Mom, you just need to. We can't turn it off at 11. You got to push it this extra like 8 minutes. This is before DVRs. You know? Come on, we can't. You got to push it. And I remember having these fights. And then it was, that's when in the late 90s, early 2000s is when kids were, crippling their little brothers and sisters, and little kids were getting killed from pile driving each other and shit like that. So my mom thinks that, that stuff's going to rot your brain, and you just, that's the dumbest thing. So now I'm 36 and I'm like, hey, remember how stupid you thought wrestling was? And it was just a phase I was going through. Man, that's really dumb when you bought me tickets to Wrestlemania for my bachelor party, huh? Like, sting.
I feel you on that time slot thing, though, because we're in the same time zone, Wade, and we used to have blank VHS tapes, and I used to have to tape War. I could watch Raw's War, and I had to tape Warzone and watch it the next day after school.
Okay, so you guys are lucky because you had cable. Back then, we didn't have it yet, so I had to ask a friend to tape it. They'd give me the VHS tape. I'd hand it back next week. Yeah, being a wrestling fan without cable was tough. Granted, I got to watch SmackDown on UPN, but
and even then, so like I wasn't a big WCW guy, but if something big was that, like I loved Goldberg too. Like Goldberg, like 13-year-old Wade loved him some Goldberg. Like I still enjoy him, but he was like that superhero, and it really sucked to try to flip between Nitro and Raw, and then like you'd get into something Raw and be like shit, and you'd flip over to Nitro, and then you would see like they'd have Goldberg's hand raised where he just won a match, and you're like, God damn it! Like there's no there was no going back.
I was lucky because one of the kids, when I was that age, when the Monday Night Wars were going through, I lived in a condo complex. I watched WWF, and the kid across the street watched WCW. And we would always, Tuesday after school, get together and talk about everything that happened on show. So that way neither of us missed it, and neither of us taped it, because my parents, I love them to death, my parents did not like wrestling at all. My dad would only put on wrestling when he was drunk and there were no other sports on.
Fair.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks when like wrestling hit its peak and you're already an adult, because what I've explained to like my wife and my mom is like when you're a kid and you're young, like these are real life superheroes. Yeah. But then you go through that like teenage, maybe like from your teenage years to your early 20s, where it kind of dips. You start driving, you discover girls, you get into high school, you still watch it, you still enjoy it, but it's not. And then once you kind of come out the other side of that, you start to appreciate the art form. You start to see behind the curtain for everything that it is. And that's where you really develop your favorite wrestlers, your not favorite wrestlers. And it's not based on like, well, I hate his character, or he's a...
Yeah, it's not based on who's in the championship hunt or whatnot. It's on, You know, I completely agree with that.
And I'll tell you one another hot take is that's the exact reason. Now listen, greatest wrestling character ever, but anybody that craps on John Cena for the 5 moves of doom, The Undertaker has 6.
Yeah, it's my favorite wrestler of all time.
The Undertaker's character is awesome, but anybody that says like, well, John Cena only does like 5 moves, you're like The Undertaker's got like 1 more, because The Undertaker's got like 17 finishers.
Yeah, but The Undertaker's moves are more impressive.
So
The Undertaker's also 70 tall, 300 pounds.
W.
What?
No, Nate, you go ahead because you were yelling something.
Well, no, I was kind of agreeing with what I think Dustin was saying there. Is it's a little more impressive because this guy is 6'10", 320 pounds. So
and
when
he's walking the top rope.
When he's doing the old school, the swan dive, and he's I'm trying to name these 6 moves basically. So it's like the old school, the swan dive,
the old school, the wrestler's holding him up. Whoever he's doing it to is holding him up.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's the visual that's impressive.
Exactly. It's great showmanship. You have.
I'm talking about pulling the curtain back as far as like looking at him now. Like The Undertaker, he's a good wrestler, but he really should have called it quits fucking 12 years ago. Like,
Oh, without a doubt.
I hate to see him. I hate to see him when he almost did that swan. Was it against Michaels? He jumped and his feet caught the top rope, and he just planted on his face on the outside.
Yeah.
He should have done when he
He's
laid his
dead.
hat and coat down in the ring at that one last WrestleMania that whatever WrestleMania he did that at. It
Which
should have been.
That was
been
against Roman Reigns.
Yeah. That would be
Roman
fantastic.
Reigns beat 2 years
I-
ago.
And then
I
Roman
don't-
Reigns had the best promo of his career on the Monday Night Raw after that, where he came out and just said, "It's my yard now," and he just walked the F out, which was fantastic. But let me ask you this: so Wade, do you watch AEW?
I dabble just because my kid wants. We go back and forth. What's that guy's name? My favorite thing in AEW right now, and I got recordings. I need to find it. Is that what's his name? Orange
Cassidy.
Cassidy.
Or he is like
Orange.
not saying a word. Hands in his pockets. He cracks me up so much. I like him
Orange
a lot.
is wonderful, but if you watch the latest episode of AEW, so and this is kind of jumping ahead, I guess. I don't know, Nate. You keep us on track. So
We've been
Spoiler.
jumping ahead for a long time, buddy.
Oh, this is completely derailed. So just
okay.
go
That's
at it.
Utter chaos. Nathan is
So
This
I
is
watched
chaos. This is like
yesterday morning, right? So today is May 3rd. It's a Bullet Club day. But I watched AEW on Saturday morning, and the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer. I'm not going to put him over because he has the same first name as I do, although that is a valid reason to put someone over. He copied pretty much every single one of the Undertaker's moves in his match against Dustin Rhodes, of course, formerly Goldust. And it was still a phenomenal match. The only difference is when he did old school, he walked the length from corner to corner on the top rope, and then he did a moonsault, as opposed to what the traditional old school is. And so that's why I asked if you watched AEW, because Lance Archer, the quote-unquote Murder Hawk, Lance Archer, whose manager is Jake the Snake Roberts, happened to just be incredible on that night. And I can't tell if it was Dustin putting him over or his own natural ability or both.
I think the one weird thing about AEW is you just gonna hit the nail on the head is like they're not trying to seriously imitate the WWE. They're trying so hard to like parody and make the WWE look foolish that like they're hurting themselves. Like it's not Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes is being very serious about like, when they asked him like, are you gonna have Zack Ryder come over? And he's like, listen, this isn't all friends wrestling. I can't just bring everybody the WWE fires over here. But like some of these guys, the guy that the guy with the long hair and the black beard that ended up being like the leader of the Black Order, his whole thing right now is just copying Vince's shtick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's Vince McMahon.
Isn't that Brody Lee?
Whoever Vince McMahon is. So I completely agree with you on that particular character, but I think that AEW is actually trying to be more of WCW, but in the late 80s and early 90s, before
there were 300 people on the roster.
Before Vince Russo?
Before Vince Russo.
Vince Russo wasn't bad for business, though.
No, I guess not. I mean, he was so hit or miss.
A pole match. You cannot convince me that a man who has a Judy Bagwell on a pole match is good for business.
Look, Vince Russo had some of the best ideas in wrestling and some of the
worst. Yeah.
Okay, so
what I'm saying is,
I'm curious. As Nate can tell you, I like to play devil's advocate. So, for the purposes of that, what are some of Vince Russo's best ideas?
No, I mean, like, because he had some really good stuff in the WWF, like the late 90s WWF Attitude Era stuff.
Yeah,
And
a lot of the Attitude Era was his baby. So, I mean.
Right. And so, like, you have, like, some of the most profitable WWF era stuff happening because of him. Then he goes to WCW, and you have David Arquette winning the world title.
Yeah. He just stopped. He stopped giving a fuck in WCW. I'll give it to you all day that that in WWF he did well, but in WCW he just stopped giving a shit. And then didn't he do a short run in TNA as well?
Everybody did a
About
short run
that.
in TNA. Wade was in
All right,
TNA.
well, let's because
Dustin was in TNA.
now
I was in TNA. Nate, I think you were in TNA.
Oh, it was a fun time.
here I just because like off the cuff, I'm not good with that. But I pulled up just Vince Russo's ideas on Google, and it said the 10 wildest ideas that he had worked. And just some of the highlights, it was his idea to turn heel and side with the corporation in the Attitude. For The Rock to turn heel and side with the corporation. That was Vince Russo.
That was a fantastic.
Vince Russo. No, hold on, guys. Vince Russo also pushed Sable.
Not be honest.
Hang on, Lance. Let Wade finish this out.
I'll give you just a couple of them. These big ones. He said that also. He said prior to the Attitude Era, the old way of telling stories was to focus on the main event. But Vince Russo, he highlighted as many superstars as possible. It's called Crash TV. Toss everybody at the wall and see what sticks. He pushed Booker T. Let's see. Val Venus was him. Triple H was first title reign was Russo. Russo convinced everybody that Triple H was main event material, and Vince Russo came up with the "This Is Your Life." The Rock, "This Is Your Life" for Mankind.
Yes, I totally forgot that was his brainchild. Oh. And Val Venus too. That's fantastic.
That's just the first thing that came up on Google. So I'm sure if you dug through, he did come up with some crazy stuff, but wrestling is better now as a product because of him.
And if you're telling me that as a wrestling fan you haven't done that towel twirl gimmick that Venus did at one point, I'd call you a liar.
Every time
I honestly do that to my wife every night, and every night she says no.
So I guess another thing that I usually do is just kind of go around the table and ask what everybody watched this week for wrestling. So Lance, kick us off on what you saw and what you liked.
Sure. So I watched Raw, NXT, AEW, and SmackDown. Not surprisingly, because I am a wrestling mark and or whore, depending on.
You're our super mark.
I love me some wrestling. So things I liked. Surprisingly, I like the Mandy Rose Sonya Deville storyline, where that Otis and Ziggler storyline has kind of evolved. Mandy Rose threw Sonya Deville threw a beautiful last shot, which she stole from Adam Cole. Although she's always been big into knee strikes, typically her knee strikes have come from the face. And the knee strike is generally called... Shinsuke uses it. They call it the Kinshasa, but they call it...
boring. That's what
the
they call
Shining
it.
Wizard.
Shinsuke uses it.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
no,
Shining Wizard.
Wizard knee strike. I'm a fan of the Shining Wizard knee strike in general. It's just that when Adam Cole does it, he does it from behind instead of front, and that's what he calls the last shot. That was beautiful. AEW was good. It was solid. They had the wrestlers, again, jaw-jacking with the wrestlers, which was beautiful. Theoretically, this was Dustin Rhodes' last match this week. So if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it, because Goldust is such a wonderful character. Dustin Rhodes in general is a wonderful,
great journeyman.
I he's a journeyman, but he in general is a great performer, just like his dad was. I think Cody is the main event guy in that family, but Cody also had a fantastic match with Darby Allin, who, if you haven't watched Darby Allin, you definitely should. It was just an amazing match. NXT, it was again fantastic. Uh, I have never ever said anything bad about NXT, and Nate can attest to this. I'm probably a huge NXT mark. I'm probably a bigger NXT mark than I am a WWE or AEW mark. But god damn, Keith Lee and Damian Priest, formerly, what was his name in Ring of Honor again, Nate? Do we remember?
No, I never. You told me once, and I was like, yeah, I have no clue who that is.
God damn. Damian Priest was previously Punishment Martinez in Ring of Honor. There we go. Fantastic match. Both
Keith Lee makes anyone look good, though. I mean,
Keith Lee is fantastic, just in general. I would say that both WWE events. So when you had the main event talent going against the main event talent, it was fantastic. Again, I think the I don't want to say it's a downside, because what they're attempting to do is they're baking in NXT and independent wrestlers on TV to help that get them exposure, even though they're not going to be main event guys and it's squash matches. But AEW is doing the same thing with a lot of their independent wrestling talent.
Is AEW getting the revival?
That's actually a good question. So I've watched a lot of stuff. I've listened to a lot of stuff on YouTube. From my understanding of what that situation is, so are they getting hashtag FTR, Fear the Revolt? AEW is getting Fear the Revolt at the end of the day. And that was confirmed basically in being the elite number 201, I think it was. And so Matt and Nick Jackson, of course, the Young Bucks, are going to go up against FTR, because it's a match that I think the entire wrestling world has wanted since the Revival were in NXT. But
and I love them. I hate that they never got a push in the main roster, like a real solid push.
And okay, hang on one sec. So here's the thing, that is poor timing, because I truly believe that they would have gotten the push, but they both of the guys had injuries on the like that didn't coincide with each other, and so they were off TV for not quite a full year, but close to it. Had that unfortunate thing.
I think here's my only counterpoint to that, Nate, is you saw what they did in NXT. I know you saw what they did in NXT because you and I watched that together. Also, on top of that, compounded with that, you've seen what they can do on the main roster when they fought talents like Jimmy and Jey Uso or the New Day. Like, those are the two teams right now. Those are the two preeminent tag teams in all of WWE, because the New Day
those are the only two that Vince cares about.
Title reign, and then Jimmy and Jay have their 7. Now, what I will also say is they've always had this long-standing Twitter beef with the Young Bucks. And so contract-wise, from what I'm hearing, just in general, is that they're going to sign with AEW, but their contracts are not going to be exclusive. So they'll be able to wrestle in Ring of Honor, in New Japan, in, I don't know, NWA Power, which arguably, because of their old school gimmick, they would fit the best. And now I'm going to shut up and you can tell me how I'm wrong.
No. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm going to tell you that that's one of the things I've been neglecting for a long while, NWA Power, because it is amazingly entertaining. I don't know if any of you guys have checked out some episodes here, but it is fantastic old school studio wrestling.
Absolutely. I've watched a couple episodes on YouTube. I should watch more. They're at 200 subscribers on YouTube, which I guess is a thing. I don't know, because we have 30 subscribers on YouTube. Yay. Plus. But in general, they are fantastic.
All right, now you were mentioning Jimmy and Jey Uso in the New Day. So let me ask you,
Sure.
like, as far as the WWE goes, like, those seem to be the only tag teams Vince right now cares about.
I disagree. I don't think Vince cares about any tag team.
Yeah. Buzzing. Now, what I'm saying, though, is that also Vince is very famous for his, I wouldn't say he's racist, but it's almost like Vince has to, it's almost like every time WWE was going to make a swing through Mexico, somehow Rey Mysterio or Alberto Del Rio won the title.
Right.
Just for like that 2-week swing through Mexico and then back out. So do you think Vince wants to keep, the belts on like the New Day? And because I've had this talk with my friends, like, the New Day is a great tag team, and so are Jimmy and Jey Uso, but Vince always seems to swing back to them. Is it because he does not have anybody that is quote unquote a minority that he has going in the title picture right now, or going for, like, I try to put myself in the shoes of like an 80-year-old Vince McMahon and think about like how his brain works versus, because I can just imagine Triple H just looking at him going, "No, Vince, you can't fucking say that on TV." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Vince, no, we can't do that. Like,
Okay,
Vince,
so
no, we can't.
Right.
We can't have a terrorist wrestler. Vince, no. Like, Vince, no.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, like, so we know for a matter of fact that Jinder won the title only to help with that break into the India market.
Yeah, it was India, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and he's not even, like, he's Canadian, so,
Right.
yeah, not a good that did.
Well, Yoko Tsuno was Samoan.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I believe me, I get it.
Vince's MO, man.
But what I'm saying is that
can I get a minority voice in this one?
Absolutely. I mean, like, I'm definitely claiming ignorance on this, like how Vince thinks. I'm just not as connected as you may be.
We'll let the half-black man talk.
I don't know.
I don't mean that.
I am the least minority ever. If I were running for president, do you remember back in the day how when Obama was running for his first term, the African American community didn't want to support him, or segments of didn't want to support him because he was not a quote unquote real African American because he didn't grow up in the inner city.
Right.
Like that's me. So the African American community could possibly invalidate my entire opinion on this, and that's cool. God. So,
and it's a sensitive subject. I apologize for bringing it up if I offend.
No, I'm not offended.
It's really hard to offend Lance Wade, so
Okay,
I bring it on with both barrels.
If there are other people listening to this,
level assholes to offend. So I think when it comes to the New Day and the Usos, the reason they have so many title reigns is because there's just a lack of push for everybody on the main roster, especially when it comes to tag teams. Right? Tag team wrestling. If you think about tag team wrestling and where it's the best, it's AEW and it's NXT. You don't think about the main roster. I love the New Day. They're wildly entertaining. I love the Usos too. I think especially when they came back and did their quote unquote jailhouse gimmick, right?
They lost the stick. Yeah.
Yeah. When they threw the Samoa gimmick out, and they were like, we're gonna rely on the fact that one of us keeps getting arrested for drunk driving.
In Detroit.
Yep.
When they kind of accelerated their careers, because it was almost a harken back to Attitude Era. I think my personal opinion, and I could be completely effing wrong, is that wrestling fans nowadays, especially in our age demographic, are looking for something that reminds us of the Attitude Era, because that was the era that we came up in by and large, and that was the era that we relate everything to, which means we're relating everything to our 12 to 13-year-old selves. Go back and watch the Attitude Era now. It's kind of like going back and watching the Transformers from the 80s or the Thundercats from the 80s or G.I. Joe from the 80s. If you go back and watch it, you're like, this show is utter shit. But
oh, that's wrong. I wouldn't say that about the Attitude Era.
No.
There was definitely. I mean, I would not call Attitude Era utter shit.
You watch right now.
I would challenge most Attitude Era to come up against promos today, and they wouldn't hold a candle anymore.
Well, but the Attitude Era, was a perfect. The Attitude Era was a perfect mix of things.
Right.
So let's take a step back. How many bra and panties matches do you watch right now? Do you go back and
that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different ball of wax.
Women's wrestling now is way better than it was, but the mic skills of people in the late 90s are far exceed anybody outside of John Cena.
That I will definitely.
No, I would say probably Kevin Owens is there too.
No,
okay.
Now listen. The Attitude Era was the perfect storm of the Attitude Era. Wouldn't be the Attitude Era if you didn't have JR and King calling it. The Attitude Era would not be the Attitude Era if you did not have wrestling be as such a taboo X-rated thing. It was at that time with DX and Socket and stuff like that. Like, it was the perfect storm of. And what was so great about the Attitude Era that's not great nowadays is that the rotating cast of main eventers was like 8 or 10 guys at any time. Like, there's that clip of Attitude Era wrestling. What was it like? It was like Rock and Stone Cold going at it, and then like Kurt Angle jumped in, and then Shawn Michaels jumped in. Like, everybody kept coming out and making saves and doing their finishers. You don't have that nowadays. Nowadays the main event scene's like 2 dudes. Like, there's nobody else that's like a main event threat. You're either in line for the title or you get the 24/7
low mid card. Yeah.
Yeah, and then back in the day, anybody could jump out and be and it was like a giant rivalry. Once you ascended to that upper echelon, then you were in the presence of all those guys. At any given time, the Undertaker could come out and challenge for a title, and you're like, he's gonna get it. But nowadays they're like, oh my God, is who's El Generico? What the fuck is his name? The red hair Armenian.
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. Oh, Sami Zayn's a legitimate contender to Brock Lesnar's title. So it's Ricochet. You're like, no, you're not. Like Ricochet, you're not. Okay, great, Ricochet. You're gonna be good for a pay-per-view. You're gonna do a great match. But I don't have the belief in it. But when The Rock turned away Stone Cold and then Kurt Angle came out and said, I'm next in line, you're like, I can see.
I kind of believe this, yeah. No, I agree that there's the disconnect between title contenders and mid card talent, and the mid card talent is even, I don't know, like,
it's great, but just they've not, none of them.
Is that
This is not
an
getting
issue
the
with
rub.
the talent though, or is that an issue with just how we're presented with them? Because here's somebody that bucks the trend, right? So the trend you're talking about, Wade, Zack Ryder, a few years ago at the Royal Rumble, or was it WrestleMania? No, it was WrestleMania. Out of nowhere, won the Intercontinental ladder match, right?
He
The
should have held that
Night,
title.
lost the next night.
right? He did lose it the next night, yes. And I 110% agree that that should not have been a thing. But the only reason he got there was because 5 years prior to that, he got over on YouTube making his own show.
Guess
So
what? Vince threw him a bone and then took it away from him, saying, "You didn't get that. I want you to grab the brass ring, but I want you to grab my brass ring. How dare you circumvent and get yourself popular around by going around me, not through me."
okay,
Right.
that's fair, and I
The
think
Vince
that's
giveth and the Vince taketh away.
I will say, I will never forget that video he made of him on a wire fence going, "What are you doing? I'm trying to get over."
Mm-hmm. It's that's what's sad though, is Vince tells these guys to, ruthless aggression, get out there and reach the brass ring. These guys are going out there and making themselves popular. Rusev Day was over twice. It wasn't over once. It was over. It circled around and was over again. And Vince didn't want shit to do with it. He will step over $1 to pick up a dime if it thinks it's going to hurt Dingo.
Right? Vince wanted Rusev to be a monster heel like he was when he came into the WWE. And when he Aiden English, that took off. Aiden English, by the way, is a huge fan of Bourbon, which has something to do with this podcast, but not a ton.
But it
no, not a big segment at all.
I just mean when someone cools off like your Zack or your Rusev, they're getting paid to just twiddle their thumbs backstage. So they just start throwing shit at a wall to see what sticks, and then things start to stick. And it's almost like Vince gets mad he didn't come up with it, so he puts the kibosh on it quick.
And I think Vince, that hasn't happened a ton in the past year or so, but Rusev Day was a couple of years ago, but yeah,
it happens every time Kevin Owens is in the main event. Vince is on record saying he hates Kevin Owens' physique.
Yeah,
Kevin Owens is not. Kevin Owens is over with his technique, his talent, his workmanship, his promos, his everything. Kevin Owens is over everywhere except that he is not sculpted out of marble.
And he had a big indie following too.
He's just like CM Punk. Vince could give CM Punk chicken shit, and CM Punk could turn into chicken salad 100% of the time. Whatever Vince gave Punk to do, Punk made it the greatest thing and made everybody love him or hate him because of it. But because Punk wasn't, they called him, what do they call him, a skinny fat guy or whatever? Because he wasn't this ideal 6'6", 280 pounds, a skull. Same thing with Kevin Owens. Vince does it every time Kevin Owens is in the title hunt, 100% of the time.
And I think that's why NXT resonates so much better these days.
That's Triple H, yeah.
Yeah, that's Triple H, and Triple H doesn't care. I mean, he cares about his own physique the most, and doesn't necessarily care about everyone else. And he just lets people be the amazing talent that they are.
And then it's almost like Triple H planted a seed, grew a giant fucking apple tree that's growing apples, and then like uproots it and gives it to Vince, and Vince is like, the fuck, like then Vince just like throws it in a wood chipper.
Yep.
And Triple H, why don't you get the apples off that? You could sell those for money. Vince is like, I don't even like apples. You know, like Triple H cultivates this talent and makes it like, okay, Vince, this has a built-in gimmick, has a built-in catchphrase. We already got T-shirts printed out. You just put them on the main roster, and they could be. You could bring back the European title. That's all you got to do. And Vince will be like, "Fuck you and fuck this. I'll do what I want. It's my business."
No, the European title is back. If you've watched R-Truth at all, it is the 24/7, 48/7, I-95, whatever it is, European TV Championship.
But I was telling Lance that it's the best callback ever because there's not a ton of people that remember the European Championship being on the green strap.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that R-Truth brings that full circle, I love it.
That's another one. Whatever R-Truth, same thing with Goldust. Great like R-Truth, whatever you give R-Truth, he is going to put his own. Like R-Truth is 50 years old. He's in excellent shape, can still wrestle, but he's funnier than 95% of the people out there. When R-Truth came out in like what was it, the Royal Rumble, and put the ladder in the middle of the ring, and there was no Money in the Bank briefcase, and like Brock Lesnar was literally cracking a rib on him. Like Brock Lesnar was over in the corner giggling, thinking, or when R-Truth came out and said he was going to throw Paul Heyman over the rope and win the Royal Rumble, and he's like, Paul's like, not me, Brock's in it. And Truth's like, all right, I take back everything I said. I'm really sorry. And he like went to leave. Like, but do you think? I think Goldust, before he retires, deserves a WWE title shot. Has he not been wrestling for like 40 years at this point, and out there still putting on fucking clinics?
Feels
He's
like
in AEW.
I know.
Right
What
now.
I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if he retires from AEW and comes back to
say one of his
WWE
career
for 6
goals
months.
is to just win a world championship before he retires. And if anyone deserves it, it is definitely him. I mean, someone comes to you with a storyline and says, all right, we're going to have you pretend to be electrocuted, and then you're going to have to do this crazy gimmick like you're suffering from electric shock. Like, most people will go, what the fuck? Goldust, he turned it into a thing that got over huge.
Wasn't that the big thing with Dusty? That like Vince hated Dusty's body so bad in the way Dusty talked. He's like, I'm gonna put you in polka dots. Let's see if you get over in polka dots. And Dusty took them polka dots and ran.
Ran with it, and I'll tell you, like before he passed, I'd pop whenever I hear those cowbells, man.
Yeah, but I'm sorry to diverge from it. It pisses me off if somebody like R-Truth comes in and is week by week, one of the top 3 segments in what people enjoy the most. And he doesn't get T-shirts. He doesn't get like the accolades. You know what I mean? Like, just give him a rub. Didn't he fight John Cena for the title like maybe like 10 years ago, where he was the bad guy for all of a month and a half?
Honestly, yeah, maybe. TNA treated him very well. He had a long tenure as the world champion in Impact there.
That makes it even worse. Like he's been to the table. Like he's been to like.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm trying to think where we were here.
What we watched this week.
Yeah. So Wade, why don't you go ahead and give us what you watched, what you enjoyed, what pisses you off?
I will be 100% honest with you. My wrestling has dialed back for 2 reasons. Number 1, my kid discovered Fortnite, and since there's no school, he plays it from like 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night, and I don't get no TV time. Number 2, I didn't think the lack of a crowd would affect my enjoyment of wrestling watching, but there is just something so missing from what I get out of wrestling that the crowd's not there.
Yeah, it really takes you out of it, doesn't it?
I 100% agree with you, which is why I'm not
jumping in to watch it. I'll get on the Bleacher Report and read about it the next day, and then maybe go check out a match.
Exactly.
But like, I'm not ready to tune in and see what, like, I'm not like, because I try watching it, and like, you know, when I watched Drew McIntyre beat Brock Lesnar at the end of WrestleMania, and he's, you know, the confetti's popping, he's like, ah, you just look around and you're like, who the fuck is he cheering for? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's, you know,
I've never. You could have asked me 6 months ago if I thought the crowd made a big difference in wrestling, and I would laugh at you. And then right today, I'm like, the crowd is so much of it.
oh, it really is, and I 100% agree. Like, I never realized how much it adds, because, you know, when it first started, I was like, oh, you know, this is like the Rock Mankind halftime match. You know, I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Oh, absolutely. Where he had him where it was like the false count anywhere, and he got him with the forklift.
Yep. Yeah.
Halftime Super Bowl.
Yep. I figured that was going to be kind of like what it was like, you know, just that level of fun all the time. And oh man, the crowd adds so much to the equation. You put it perfectly. Like, I didn't realize how much I cared that much about the crowd reaction to everything.
Now, I will tell you the thing in wrestling I've enjoyed the most probably in the past 6 months, and it was done so skillfully and it helped so much, was the AJ and Undertaker match being filmed cinematically like that. Because you did not get to see it hurts me to watch the Undertaker go against somebody and them have to carry him through a match. Like I said, I might not care for all of his moves, but the character, the mystique, the dead man, he's invincible. To be able to like film for 5 or 10 minutes and film a spot and then let him have a break and then come back and like, you know, do this and do that. Like, I enjoyed that so much. And because AJ is such a giving wrestler, they both are, but AJ is willing to just made to look like a piece of shit. Like he does not, his ego is not a thing. He is made in. And he's in that tractor, and the light comes on. The Undertaker's behind him, and you're like, "This was shot damn near perfect." And I can say probably in the past 6 months, that's probably what I've enjoyed the most out of wrestling.
Yeah,
I will agree with you.
The Boneyard match was so good, and it made Undertaker look really good, like you said.
You know, and it didn't hurt the mix of the American Badass.
Yeah,
and see, so I really came into wrestling. So to give you a background, my sister's best friend for many years, her uncle was Howard Finkel.
Awesome.
And so I, you know, whenever going over that friend's house of my sister's, I was always, you know, wrestling was always on. So that's how I kind of got into it. And I took a break for a long while. I didn't come back till 2000, when Taker made his. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, now you're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can hear you.
So I came back in in 2000, when Taker came back as American Badass. So that's really the only version of Taker that I'm super familiar with. Of course, I've gone back and watched a ton of stuff, so I know Phenom, I know Ministry, I know all that.
What about Ginger Taker?
I do, because of my fandom, know about Mean Mark Calloway.
No, like wide bow tie, no tattoos, long red hair. Like, you know, like the like 91, 92 Undertaker. You're like, who is this guy?
Right. So the funny thing, Nate, is I watched as a kid all the way through the Attitude Era. Undertaker, always been my favorite wrestler. The moment he came out on that motorcycle the first time, I shut wrestling off and didn't watch it until 2006. I went, what the fuck is this? I was done.
Ow! That hurts me inside a little, Dustin.
That was Undertaker.
I appreciate the character
doing a stale character.
Right.
I don't know.
That's
I
funny. You're like, what is this, a motorcycle? You just reach over and like click. I had to go find something to do.
I don't know. You know what? I loved it. I loved him. Because of this connection between my friend and her uncle being my sister's friend and her uncle being Finkel. One day I received an envelope in the mail, and it was something that Finkel had signed for. So I figured it was like just an envelope with his signature on it, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And I opened up the envelope, and it was an 8x10 signed by Taker.
Nice.
Promo, awesome.
So I was like, yeah, and it was, he was in the ABA garb. I've always liked that version of Taker.
Yeah,
So
he's always kept the character really well. He's protected the character. He never really, you wouldn't see him in nightclubs or out being crazy and doing stuff outside of his, it's just good. But I think the last great match The Undertaker had live in a ring was him and CM Punk. But I think that was probably 60% Punk and 40% Taker, if not.
I don't know.
Without a doubt.
The two Shawn matches were fucking amazing.
Those were great. I'm saying the last great match I saw, though, was probably those two.
Was it after CM? Was it before CM Punk, the Michaels matches? I don't remember.
I think it was after. Because I think CM Punk, maybe it was 2012, 2013, CM Punk and Taker. Because I went to the Wrestlemania that Taker fought Triple H in the Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels as the ref.
Right.
Yeah, when he shaved his head and everything. That was weird.
Yeah, the Straight Edge Society.
No, when Undertaker shaved his head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see.
What does the Google say? WrestleMania 29.
So I've gotten way off beat here, but my main point of all that was when he kind of came back as this hybrid badass Taker with just a couple of little vestiges of Dead Man, I lost my shit. I was just so happy.
Oh, for the Boneyard match?
Yeah.
When he was talking shit,
The
he would talk.
match was the penultimate Undertaker in terms of when he was trying to get over the American Badass. Like, that's what it should have been the entire time. And I don't think that he really got that over earlier on.
It was the perfect mix because when he was talking shit to AJ, what are you gonna do now, boy? Get up, you know what I mean? It wasn't just this quiet, weird Undertaker. It was nice that there were those little subtle things that he was doing that helped the character.
I have issues just like Tommaso Ciampa when he uses the term boy. So I have issues with the term boy. If they're in a match with an African American person, you cannot use that term because immediately it's racist.
Absolutely.
Never mind if you intend it to be or not.
In today's society, it'll absolutely get you 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's why, Tommaso Ciampa, I would love to see Tommaso Ciampa versus the American Dream in NXT. If you can sit here and tell me that that's not an amazing match, I will tell you to go fuck yourself.
Now, Tommaso, I really like in NXT. As little as I watch, but I also like that he's humble enough to know that he tried doing the Raw thing and he says it's not good for his mental health. He thinks he should stay in NXT.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think he's been there before in general. He knows what's what, and it's fine. And I have no issues with that. I love to watch Tommaso. There are two guys, and Wade, I've said this on this cast before. The two guys that make me pop anywhere close to Rock and Austin are Ciampa and Gargano on NXT, because I got into NXT for Finn Balor right before he left, and I watched the entire Ciampa and Gargano storyline, and I absolutely loved it. That, to me, is the best story told in wrestling.
And it's funny that the two of them watching the two of them wrestle. But it's funny though. Then when I see them with other wrestlers, and I realize how big the two are they both like 5'9"? You know what I mean? Like it's so funny how great they are.
Gargano's like 5'8", and Ciampa's like 5'10".
How great they're over in NXT, but you'd put them in WWE events, be like, "What is this? A cruiserweight?" Triple H, we don't do that anymore. And it's like cruiserweight. How about we're gonna put Ciampa against Ciampa tonight? You're gonna lose against Nia Jax. Why? Because she's taller than you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, I fully understand that, which is why I love the fact that they're still in NXT.
Yeah. What about you, Nate? So what have you watched this week? What are you what are you popping for?
Again, I haven't watched a ton. I watched some of SmackDown this week. And so my personal favorite storyline going on right now everywhere is Otis and Mandy. Like that is just so much fun for me to watch. I've always loved those the misfit, the fat guy, they always win in the end. Those stories I love, and I love what they're doing there. I didn't get to finish out SmackDown this week, but like solid matches between Daniel Bryan and Baron Corbin. I enjoy both guys. I personally am looking forward to the Money in the Bank match to see how this all plays out. But as you were saying, Wade, I'm having a difficult time tuning in every week because the crowd really added so much more than I realized, and a lot of it's not interesting me at the current moment. So that's kind of where I am.
I mean, it's almost as if like imagine you were the only person in like at the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like imagine the Super Bowl being played and you're the only guy in the crowd just sitting there. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, okay, they got the ball. Now what?
Yeah.
Like no real announcers, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's and it doesn't matter really what sport it is, whether it's wrestling, football, basketball. The athletes can be as talented as ever, but it's sales from the fans that keep that thing rolling.
I think the word I'm looking for is it's a lack of energy.
Yeah, it's definitely a lack of energy.
There's an energy missing from it.
Yeah. And it's that it changes the show so much because if there's a lack of crowd response in a match, guys will compensate to try to get a rise out of some people. If you have a crowd that's super hot, like Chicago's always super hot no matter what they're doing. I'm trying to think of the crowd that's like always just blah. Like there's
super hot crowds. There's Chicago, there's Philly, there's NYC at Madison Square Garden. Boston, I will give, not because we're an hour and a half away, but I will give Boston props. But the crowd that's always like meh is when they're out in like the Midwest or
West.
Hey now.
So LA
or any Shinsuke Nakamura match, the crowd's just
Listen, okay, so here's you want to shit on Shinsuke, that's fine. But I went to the SmackDown probably of 4 or 5 years ago that was in
Manchester,
it's now the Verizon Wireless Arena, right? Or I'm sorry, the SNHU Arena, right? At the time, it was the Verizon Wireless Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire. 100% honestly, Shinsuke Nakamura came out for the dark match in fucking Manchester, New Hampshire. The entire crowd was going, oh,
Which tells me that New Hampshire doesn't have good taste in wrestlers.
Oh,
I disagree, because that was when he first came up from NXT. Go back and watch his NXT match, and you'll be like, okay, I understand.
Well, I digress. Then Vince hadn't taken the wind out of his sails yet.
Exactly.
That I'll agree with 100%.
You take the red hot character coming from NXT, and Vince's like, well, let's just tweak these couple of things. So it's like, these are all the things that make me a good wrestler. And he's like, yeah, let's get rid of all of it.
Yeah, no, I know Vince holds a lot of stuff back. I think somebody at some point said, you're not wrestling for a crowd of thousands, you're wrestling for a crowd of one. And I 100% agree with that. But Shinsuke, just go back and watch Shinsuke and NXT. You will watch that, and then you will see what he is now on the main roster, and you'll be like, what the fuck?
I would say to you that in the past, it was 2020, I'll say the past 15 years, the most over wrestler that's not named John Cena has been CM Punk. If I were to say a favorite outside of the Attitude Era, like the Straight Edge Society or after you drop the pipe bomb, like that man could do no wrong in the crowd's eyes.
No, I agree with you, and that's still the case. Even though, like, did you hear how he got fired from WWE?
On his wedding day, right? I mean, he walked out of after the Royal Rumble, he walked out and just kind of said he needed a break, and they were like, no.
And then they sent him, because he was married AJ Lee, and they sent him his termination papers on his wedding day with AJ Lee, which is interesting because if you go back and watch any of the women's quote-unquote evolution stuff, AJ Lee is expunged from all of that, even though AJ Lee, more than the Bellas, were a bigger part of evolution.
Bro, you just reminded me. Remember when AJ Lee on the stage looked at both the Bellas and told them that wrestling talent was not a sexually transmitted disease? Oh my God! Like I fell out of my chair. That was before she was with CM Punk, and the two of them were John Cena and Daniel Bryan. She was just like, "Listen, girls, like it's not a sexually transmitted. Can't get wrestling talent that way." I was like,
that right, and I think it was one of those things that was So there are two female wrestlers that I think should definitely be re-indoctrinated, so to speak, into WWE. One is Gail Kim. The other is AJ Lee. Like, for whatever reason, they've completely and totally left them out. Now, if they bring AJ Lee and CM Punk back with a great storyline, fine. I would love to see them also bring back Gail Kim, because Gail Kim was pretty much the TNA equivalent of AJ Lee and brought back women's wrestling to an actual art form.
Well, now
let me her mostly on Food Network, and that's a crime.
Now, I will say, though, about CM Punk, because he's also, as good of a wrestler he was, he's also kind of a baby, because it was like, if he wasn't involved in some main event feud, then he was always really mad. You know what I mean? Like, buddy, you can't be in the main event all the time. Like, if you ever listen to his interviews, he bitches about how he got pulled out of the main event, and Vince, and like Triple H and Vince told him, like, hey, you're going to wrestle Taker this year, WrestleMania. And he was like, I don't want to do that. I want to wrestle for the title. Like, I also get that part, though. Like, listen, you can't. Like, you're really good at what you do, but you have to stop being a baby.
The departure was all Vince and Triple H, right? I'm just saying that AJ Lee deserves a fuck ton more respect than she's getting.
I think that after CM Punk got shit canned, I think that you're looking at it the wrong way. I think she stood up more for her man and decided to pare down her WWE role. I don't think WWE really shit on her as much as she shit on WWE after what happened.
I'd agree with that.
I think more collateral damage, but I mean, either way, she, in terms of taking women's wrestling from where it was, put it where it is, she has much role than, say, WWE kind of admits to.
Yeah, so the women's revolution. I mean, like, who would we say? When did the turn of phrase start getting thrown around? Paige?
So
Yeah.
they started throwing it around with Paige, right?
That's when it started, right?
It should have started with AJ. Honestly, so full disclosure, it should have started with Natalya. When Natalya came up, because she was the last.
It still is. She's the best
of the Heart Dungeon. It should have started with Natalya. Then it went to Bella's, but it really should have been AJ Lee. So it should have been Natalya and AJ Lee, and then you start working in the women that they brought up from NXT, which was, at the time, Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha, because they didn't bring up Bayley until later.
Now, I did have a good laugh when Michelle McCool said she was mad because she got left out as being a pioneer of women's wrestling, and I was like, you weren't even a full champion. Like, you had to split that shit with Layla. Like, and she's another one. When her and Undertaker got together, I always heard horror stories about her being like backstage, like telling the other women how they don't know how to wrestle, and that's not the way to do it, and stuff like that.
Interesting, because AJ Styles brought that up a little bit in the feud leading up to the Boneyard match, right?
Like, I don't know.
Oh, he definitely used.
You're gonna have to tell me.
In the.
Well, he used McCool. I'm just saying the whole, like, I'm telling you, backstage, Michelle McCool would like interrupt other girls planning their matches and be like, "Girls, that's not how we do things around here." You know, like she starts sleeping with the Undertaker, and all of a sudden she's wrestling female royalty, and you're like, "Ooh, back down there, sweetheart."
I don't know about that. I haven't heard about that, so I don't want to go all in on that.
Another person who I thought was semi-instrumental in this whole new perception to women wrestling was Caitlyn, or Celeste Bonin, however you like to think of her now.
Why did you say that?
Because I always thought she had really solid matches. Like, I thought she was a decent technical worker.
There were always solid ones. It's just whether or not, when did they start getting featured? In the Victoria, Ivory, Jacqueline, Gail, Kim, all of those girls were excellent wrestlers. But no, if they wouldn't agree to a bra and panties match, Vince wasn't putting them on.
Yeah, I 100%.
Yeah,
but that was Attitude Era. I don't think that we got real women.
Saying the revolution only started when they got featured.
Yeah, when they threw out the Divas Championship is when women's wrestling started being a real thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much right. I mean, it started with that whole hashtag thing. What was it, like? Hashtag give ladies a chance or something?
Give ladies a chance.
Right. And that was around when, because wasn't it Paige debuted the night after Wrestlemania and beat AJ Lee for the title?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right after, and that was right after CM Punk got his walking papers, like a month prior. It all kind of happened right around the same time.
Yeah. Which was unfortunate, but I mean, I'm interested to see. So I follow CM Punk on Instagram, and he's been doing a lot of cardio and a lot of working out. So I don't know and he hasn't really been on backstage much, which is a really different discussion because there's a discussion point for backstage that we'll come back to. But CM Punk, he's been working out. He stays in shape. I honestly think at some point he's gonna come back, and it's just a matter of who gives him the best offer.
He's been away too long. He's gotten the itch back. I agree.
Yeah. It needs to happen when things go back to normal, because there's far too much money to be made from his return wherever he goes, not to have thousands and thousands of paying people to not get in on that.
Yeah.
But he's also 40-something years old. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost one of those, like, all those things you bitched about, if you came back, that's who you would be.
I mean, I don't care how old he is. Edge is old. Randy Orton is old.
Right, but Punk's whole shtick was old-timers coming back and taking...
He doesn't have to come back and perform the same way like he was 20. He just has to come back for, like, one match, and we're good.
Jesus. Sweet baby. But yeah, no, I'm saying that he would come back and take a spot that somebody else earned at, like, WrestleMania. CM Punk, what happens is, like, every time there's a battle royal, you know what I mean? Like, I always think it's like every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. It's like every time there's a battle royal, a legend came back and wants to have a match.
Right.
Because whatever Vince has got left over, you know what I mean? Like, one year Kevin Owens will be headlining WrestleMania, and then the next year he's in like a 30-man battle royal, and there's like no in between.
Okay, yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from on that. I don't think I necessarily disagree, because I mean, you've seen it happen multiple. Daniel Bryan, the whole shtick that happened with when we wanted him to get the world title back after WrestleMania 30, and the stuff with Roman Reigns. And I don't fault Roman Reigns for that. That was the way that the script was written. But good God, would I have loved to have seen Daniel Bryan succeed in that point? Absolutely.
Roman Reigns, much like John Cena, was given the golden ticket. And if you're in the wrestling business and you're given that, like, you're going to take it and run with it. Like, it sucks, but I mean, like, whoever you got to step in on the way to be the top guy, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's just necessarily John Cena-esque.
He's 100%. They've tried giving him an edge, kind of like a little bit of a CM Punk, Stone Cold edge, where I'm the big dog and this is my yard and I'll do whatever I want. And I'm going to say hell sometimes. And it's like, no, buddy, just you back it down. All right. The kids are here to see you.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, it was the writing fault. It was Vince trying to shove him down our throats. I'm fine. Roman Reigns, if he had gotten rebranded after the Shield breakup, I think we'd be talking an entirely different story about him.
Yeah.
But he's the only one that didn't. The other two got rebranded.
Exactly.
Well, still that dude from the Shield.
Well, let's wait a second, because there have been a lot of tag teams that have broken up. And so I understand the Shield was stable more than a tag team because it was 3-man. There were a lot of tag teams that have broken up where the guy they want to push keeps the music, keeps the style, keeps that. And if you know anything about Roman Reigns as a person, he's a very stable, steady person. I think they actually kept the character a lot to what the person himself is. Now, Is that a drawback? Does that make you take a step back? Maybe, because Joe Anoa'i is a very laid back guy, despite being the Locker Room leader, almost akin to The Undertaker, in that he's not going to be in your face. He's very laid back. And I don't think necessarily wrestling fans, I think a lot of wrestling fans give him this, oh, Vince is pushing him, so I don't like him kind of vibe. When if you watch his matches, they're pretty freaking good.
Well, I would say though that out of the 3 Shield members, he's the only one that is. He retained the music and he retained kind of the, but he's super stale. Like his character, like Dean Ambrose, at least went a little. Like Dean Ambrose did some different stuff. Seth Rollins has gone all over, being like the chosen one to the architect to like this to that. But like Roman Reigns, like Roman, what about how about like a new finisher? What about maybe you know what I mean, like a different color pants? And he's like,
what about Goldberg? What about Austin? Because their shtick hasn't changed in decades. Even when they were with the WWE and they were active.
Are you comparing Roman Reigns' overness to Cole
No,
Goldberg?
not his. No,
because that's the same thing. You say the same thing about the Undertaker.
Not his overness, but the way his character has, quote unquote, developed.
Right, but what I'm saying is, and also comparing, you can't compare the two of them because, like we talked earlier, Goldberg and Stone Cold had to be in an era where it captured your attention and you had to get it. Nowadays, you can miss wrestling and catch it the next day or read about what happened on the internet. Wrestling nowadays, much like any other sport, is not the way. There's no longer kids going to school the next day and hearing from their friends what happened. It doesn't happen anymore. There's not this whole other level. So wrestlers nowadays have to do more to capture the attention, because if they don't, they are at risk of not being stale or forgotten, just being overlooked, because it's like, oh, even if I don't tune into the Roman Reigns match, I'm just going to kind of zoom by what happened Roman Reigns when I read the next day on the Bleacher Report what he's done. And he's not doing anything to make people want to tune in and see him.
Right. Drew McIntyre now is what Roman Reigns should have been when he left the Shield.
Yes. I like that. Yeah.
Although Drew McIntyre's like face turn is a little weird. He should be like an anti-hero, but he's like the counting and the smiling. I'm like, you stop doing that. You're making me uncomfortable.
Yes. Yep. No. Yeah. If he hadn't changed much from turning face to heel, had just kind of a slight attitude change and not try to work in some of the gimmicky shit he does, right, then that would have been perfect.
Yeah, it's like
you're just trying to sell T-shirts at this point.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So does that wrap up our wrestling portion here?
I don't know.
I mean, we could talk for another 4 hours about it if you want.
Probably.
Like, we all gotta
Probably.
You want to keep going with it? I mean, it's 8 o'clock, so it's been 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
We had a quick brew segment, and then we've been talking about wrestling for 2 hours. I can keep going.
I apologize if that's on me as the guest for hijacking.
No, it's not.
No, it's fine. My wife says no, I cannot keep talking wrestling, so let's move on to toys.
All right. So Wade, what I like to do to kick off the toy segment is go around the table and see if anybody got anything new this week. So as the guest, why don't you lead us off with this?
New this week, I ordered the Hot Toys Mark 7 diecast Iron Man.
Fuck yeah.
I did open the Punisher War Machine. I opened up some. things that I've bought, I don't think I've bought. I've looked, which I'm a caveat. It's a little thing I want to say something, but anyways, I've been looking for toys, but I've come across anything I'd like to have. But I've been going through like the things that are just in boxes in like my storeroom and getting them out. My Punisher War Machine helmet, my Ant-Man helmet that I bought, and just they sit in a box. I got them out and was futzing with them and stuff like that. I can't say though that I've gotten. I don't know. I think the last action figure I bought was the maybe the Batman Who Laughs.
Oh,
GameStop or
okay.
something.
All right. Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Tell me, how was the Batman Who Laughs? Because I've seen it on Amazon, and I've resisted buying it despite reading all of Batman Metal and all of
Okay, well,
follow-ups.
I'll be 100% honest with you. I've not opened it. A lot of the things I buy. Okay, so a couple of things. With my job, I drive around a lot, and I have to take 2 breaks and a lunch. That's just 2 15-minute breaks and a lunch. So if there are, and I mean Nate and Dustin can attest to this, if there is something, if I'm out and about and there's something that is popular or people need, I'm taking pictures and I'm sending it to everybody. Do you need this?
You have helped me out a couple times.
I will buy it for you, and then when I get home, I'll pack it in the box and give you shipping, and you pay me the exact dollar amount, and I will send it off to you. So there are things if I find that I just pick up, and if it catches my finger, I might open it. Yep. But if not, if somebody else needs it, then I don't have a problem. Like the $24 or whatever it costed with tax. So I have I have a whole I'm looking at right now. I have Bizarro from Walgreens not opened. I have the Captain America with the shield Mjolnir not opened. I have the Hellbat armor sitting here not opened.
Oh, you have the Hellbat armor?
Yes, I have the Hellbat armor too.
Nice.
So these are just things, but I mean, like I've gone to Walmart and I send pictures in our group chat, and Dustin will be like, "Hey, I need that," or "Can you pack those up? Buy a couple. I'm sending them to me." Absolutely not a problem. But that is the problem I want to get into. I have a friend I made who's a local guy. He collects too. He posted on Facebook a couple days ago, I think it was. He found the child at the Walmart that's 2 minutes from my house. He found the baby Yoda, and he was just taking pictures of with his family. And I was like, "Bet." So I asked him, like, "Where'd you find that?" He's like, "Oh, they had it at Walmart." And I was like, "All right." So it was like Walmart here closes at 8:30 because of the pandemic. So the next morning I went and they're all gone. And I was like, "Where were they?" He goes, "Oh, she was just getting them out of the boxes when I went there." And I was like, "All right, well, okay." So I kind of looked around, nothing. And I said, "Yeah, if I were a bed man, I'd probably put out 6 or 10 of them." They didn't put out very many of them. And like I did finish my shopping. I got my truck and I got so angry. Like, I don't know if as collectors we are selfish isn't the word, but inconsiderate. Like, if I find something,
Sure.
I will like tell some like, "Hey, these are hot items. Looking like, bro, I live just as far away as you do from Wally World. You might not have the $30 to buy them, but hey, they're putting these out right now. If you want me to hide one for you and you come get it, here's where it's gonna be." You know what I mean? Like, I got so angry just for like 5 minutes and like, what the hell?
I get that. No, I definitely do. Yeah, I think I wouldn't say
selfish is fine, because if I come across and there's one of them, I'm buying it for myself because I want.
I would have yeah, selfish maybe. I think self-centered might be a little more apt of a description. It's kind of all about us first, then others second. When it comes to
not even think about it.
Yeah. So I think that's so. But yeah, I get entirely what you're saying.
I 110%, if I find something, I will hide it and not tell Nate, because we're in the same area. And then I will just
not really anymore, though. I mean, I'm not going up to Concord for. The only time I hit the Concord Walmart is when we go there on our Big 4 weekends.
Which is fair, because we've done that before, right? And I think the last time we did that, I ended up with Shockwave, and you ended up with Were you looking for the Ultra Magnus, or were you looking for the Shockwave 2?
No, no. So there's a time I know the time you're talking about, and there's a time after that where I saw like one lonely Crosshairs, and I was like, okay, well, I haven't seen this anywhere else, so fuck it, I'll buy it.
Did I must have already had Crosshairs at that point, though.
Yes, you did.
Because to Wade's point, I would have gotten Crosshairs for me, and then let you get whatever the dregs were.
Yeah, but what I'm saying though is, if there were two Crosshairs and they wanted it, you would pick both of them up, take a picture, and say, "I'm getting one for myself. Do you want me to pick up the second one, and you pay it for me next time you see me?"
So I do. I operate a little bit differently. I would pick up one for myself, then I post the picture and say, "Hey, does anybody want one before I leave?" Because there's definitely been a number of times where I've been at the Target in Concord before it's opened. I went in there, I found what I wanted, and then said, "Hey, does anybody else want whatever it is?" And nobody's gotten back to me. Okay, so
that's happened as well.
Mm.
Oh yeah, no, that's happened as well, where the guys will PM me and go, "Oh, hey, I need that Dr. Doom." I'm like, "Well, bro, it's been 20 minutes. Like, I've already paid and left. I'm really sorry." No, okay, no harm, no foul. Like, I have.
Absolutely.
What's funny is that same guy that I'm mad at, that G.I. Joe classified Snake Eyes. I ordered 3 of them. One for me, one for my buddy, and the third one for trade bait or whatever. So I got the 2 of them, and I posted the third one for trade bait. And he started. This is how I met the guy. He started PMing me, friending me on Facebook, like, "Hey man, I was looking for that for me and my kid. Like, seemed like a family man. Blah blah blah. Hey, can you hook me up? Can you hook me up? Can you hook me up?" And then, what do you have for trade? Nothing good. And I think it was retailed for 30, and then I added tax and shipping. I think I just sold it to him for like $50 or something like that. It was like whatever it was to add it all together. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he came to my house and picked it up and gave me the cash. "Here you go, buddy. Here you go. It's fresh out of the box. Enjoy it." And since then, he's asked me for mine if I'm going to sell him a second one. But I digress. It's infuriating when I do a stranger a solid. You know what I mean? And then I don't give 2 shits about.
I try to only keep it within a small circle of people that I trust. So, Nate, you're one of them, obviously. And then there are a couple other guys that live close to where Nate and I live, because Nate and I are within like an hour or less of each other. And those are
Booty called us.
Oh, definitely.
That we try to, like, I try to.
It's only been once or twice. Don't worry about it, Dustin.
Wait, what? Once or twice?
I said, and you live with the Harvey Booty called Dustin.
Listen,
and you just like you went right on by it. You just kept on going.
Yep.
Absolutely. Probably multiple times. But Nate usually likes to come over for the hot tub, and Nate and I will hang out in the hot tub and or the pool for like multiple hours.
No, Nate. My beer tastes funny too. Just keep taking drinks.
Yeah.
I came here 2 hours late, made my butthole hurt.
Fucking love it.
But no, anyways, I don't think, as far as pickups go, no, I don't think I go to the store. I mean, of course, around where I'm at, the toy section is being stocked dead last. I saw the 1/1 scale Ghost Trap, and I saw the Black Series Probe Droid or whatever, but I didn't pick either one of those.
Sorry, with the 5G, I just spread COVID to everyone.
Oof. Yikes. Ouch. Okay, so Lance, how about yourself?
First.
Yeah, pretty much. So Lance, how about yourself? Anything new this week?
This week, no. I honestly, since next weekend will be my birthday, I installed a new mailbox, which is fun and exciting. And then after that, I just
Yeah,
gave
because
up
your
on.
mailbox was pretty dilapidated.
Dilapidated is it's not even to call it dilapidated is an insult to Skarsgård. Um, Not that we are fans of wrestling at all. So my mailbox over the winter got hit by either a plow or somebody who lost control of their car. So I had to replace it. So I finally got to replace it this weekend. And that was my major project for this weekend, along with I wanted to mow the yard. But this morning it was raining. And then I went out and I food shopped. So the yard didn't get mowed. Not that it's super bad, but just, it's not anywhere near Kip Sabian or Penelope Ford, but it does need to get mowed at some point, probably next weekend.
I guess it counts as a pickup. I spent $200 on a power washer today.
There you go. Hey, that fits the bill.
Oh, apparently my dog
$5 on tequila.
So I'm sorry.
So Lance, is your wife going to pick up any toys from your childhood from your birthday, like jacks or the wheel with the stick that you push down the road?
Yeah. Maybe a nice set of marbles.
And
maybe a nice set of marbles.
That's really yeah. No. Well, so here's the thing, right? The way I get away with collecting is my wife collects flyer model horses, right? So my birthday present was this weekend. She finally went in her horse room after 2 or 3 months, and she looked around, but only with prompting, because I had hid a custom Boss Fight Studios 4-inch figure, which, if you're keeping track, is modern G.I. Joe size, that I call Trevor Knightley Medieval Stripper. I hid him in that horse room, knowing full well she would not find him, and she didn't without prompting, but she finally found him this weekend, and now he is hanging out in our living room. He's a wonderful figure. He's got armored arms down to the hands. He's bald with a nice big black beard, but with a bleach stripped in the middle. He's got knight armor around his what's it. The rest of him is naked, and that is Trevor Knightley, Medieval Stripper Man. And I fucking laughed my ass off so hard when she went in there and she started looking around, and I stood at the foyer of her horse room, because she does have an entire bedroom dedicated to her Breyer model horses, and I said, I left something in here 2 to 3 months ago. Can you find it? And it took her probably about 15 minutes.
It took 1 minute, Lance.
She's saying it's 1 minute. That's
hear.
a lie. It took multiple minutes for her to find it.
That's an answer. She's taking back the hula hoop she bought you for your birthday.
I don't have a hula hoop, but I do have Rebecca's playroom, which is a whole different deal.
That's a whole different thing.
Nate, next time you come up, you can visit Rebecca's playroom.
I intend to. Fully intend to.
Rebecca,
Justin, how about
Rebecca's
yourself?
playroom,
Say again?
Nate, do I have to give? I'm going to give explanation of Rebecca's playroom.
Yeah, go ahead, because it's pretty wonderful.
All right, so my house is a ranch. They added on what is a master bedroom, but they considered it an in-law suite, so we have a kitchen sink in our master bedroom. If you go downstairs, 1/3 of it is finished. In one of the parts that's not finished, they decided they were making a closet under the stairway. And it's painted in pink. And it's got spray painted on it, Rebecca's Playroom. It is legitimately the creepiest fucking thing I've ever seen because it has
Awesome.
a deadbolt, like a heavy deadbolt on the outside. So I guess if I wanted to, I could take my child, lock him in Rebecca's Playroom, and just leave him there a la Harry Potter.
Listen, if I had disposable income and I was selling a house, I would 100% do that before I left, just to mess with somebody.
It's seriously creepy as hell.
It was. I was legitimately terrified the first time I stepped in.
My buddy and his wife came down from the block. They have a 18-month-old son, and he has a Power Wheel. It's a I want to say it's a Navigator or something like that.
Jenny from the block,
right? But they came up, knocked on the door, and we were talking to him. They're on the sidewalk. We're up on our porch, and we look at the little boy, and we're like, he's too young to ride that Power Wheel. Like, he can do it. And his dad, coolest thing, the Power Wheel comes with parental controls. It comes with a remote control, a wireless remote control, so you can just buckle your kid in, and he just like you can back it up, turn it, and just drive off. Like, dude, the thing's got a radio in it and stuff like that. I was like, get out! This is awesome.
I want that Power Wheel, and I'm 37.
Yeah, and you have a car, and yet you want the Power Wheel.
I don't give a fuck about
the car. We'll trade the car.
Oh.
All right, sorry, Dustin. What did you collect this week?
Okay, I've kind of a busy week, I guess. So I got Swindle and Vortex for the MMC Bruticus. And that thing's shaping up fantastic.
I love the pictures you've posted already.
Like, the size-wise, it's not going to stack up to MPs, but I think, like, just the posability and everything, I think I'm going to put it on a shelf by itself with, I don't know, like my classic Starscream or something.
Why does Dustin have such a sexy voice? Jesus Christ. It's like melted butter over here.
Oh, dude, it's just the way it is.
I have to keep a roll of paper towels next to me when he talks, so.
Gross.
So, and after that, I got my Storm Collectibles Bane came in the mail. So, and that thing's impressive. I found Diamond Select Rocketeer at Walgreens.
Okay, how is that thing? Because I have walked by it like twice, and I'm tempted. But how is it?
To have a $16 Rocketeer figure on my shelf, it does the trick.
Okay, so it's so by that description, it's not perfect, but it's good.
Right, it's decent. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. It's decently posable. It should have came with a flight stand. Yeah, like $16. I was like, that's cheaper than most, 1/12 scale figures.
That's fair. Yeah.
Anybody pick up the deal of the day at GameStop for the Voltron?
No.
So it's funny you post that, Wade, because Pat in our group, he sold me a Voltron, that classic Voltron complete for $80 shipped as well. So I was like, wow, damn, that's a really good deal for anyone who wants to get in it.
Right. So yeah, other than that, I bought a I don't know, probably Wade will be the only one familiar with it, but Damn Toys, 1/6 scale. They have their Gangster's Kingdom line. It's the first one. You know about that, Wade?
Vaguely, but not too much.
This sounds incredibly racist.
Oh, yeah, I mean, maybe. But they do 1/6 scale, like super realistic clothes and such, but very caricature versions of actors.
Which one did you get? I'm looking at them right now.
I got the one called Diamond 3, which is basically a caricature of Danny Trejo as Machete.
Love it.
I'm looking at the one right now of Wolverine. He doesn't look bad at all.
Yeah, no, they're really fucking cool. Like, they're super cool. And they're like not close to high. Like, I think I paid the dude, and it was shipped from Canada, so I think it was like $140 after shipping and everything is what I paid the guy.
Not even a real place.
Right?
Not even a real place.
So that should be week, hopefully.
Should tell that to Dan and Alan and see how they.
Oh no! What are they gonna do? Try to come over the border at me?
Ooh.
They're gonna send their one military Mountie.
They're one Mountie after. Oh,
that reminds me of a good one. The Canadian Navy. How did the Canadian Navy see the old Canadian Navy?
How?
Glass bottom boats. I'm sorry, Canada. If anybody here is listening from Canada, I'm sorry, but not really.
That's what you can see them in Lake Superior.
Where I live is so close to Canada that if you go, like I'm probably a quarter of a mile from Lake Erie, but your phone will turn off from like AT&T Verizon and just switch over to like Rogers Wireless. So you got to call your cell phone provider and be like, I don't live in Canada. I wasn't in Canada. It just did that all by its goddamn self.
I don't even know what Rogers is other than the Rogers Center, which I believe is the home of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, I assume Rogers Wireless owns them then.
Yeah, I'm about 6 hours from Toronto.
Yeah.
So we're telling inappropriate jokes. Is that how we wrap up the podcast?
Fuck yeah, it is.
Again, I mean,
why not?
Well, I was gonna say. So, Dustin, I know you got one other thing that you posted to the chat today.
Oh yeah,
Dustin wants to talk about your thing.
I do want to talk about Dustin's thing. That's why I'm running through these paper towels like crazy.
Oh shit! I'm looking at it right now. What'd you
tissues,
get,
man? I told you, tissues with lotion.
I actually bought a mainline transformer for the first time since I bought Siege Prime. So I found the Netflix Megatron. And
yeah, we might have to talk and strike a deal for that pinpointer if that's not something that.
Dude, if you want those Target Masters, you can have them. Like I just wanted the Megatron.
Perfect. Yeah. I happily accept.
I was gonna say, have an
witness. Witness, I heard him.
I will text you after we finish up the podcast here.
No worries, man. I got your address and I got a box. I'll go to the post office.
I got a shit ton of mini cons here too.
Yeah. That's another thing that I got. So I Dustin, was that it for you?
Oh yeah, that's all good, brother.
All right. So for me, I picked up something that was on my want list for a long while. Holding it in my hand, this sexy beast right here. Fans Project Assaulter.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You could kill somebody with that toy.
He is fantastic. And the guy I bought him from was kind of a idiot. He shipped it only loosely wrapped.
Should you talk shit about the guy you bought it from on the podcast?
Like, he's gonna listen to it.
I mean, if you're so confident he's not gonna listen to it, tell us what his full name is.
His full name was this guy.
It was this Asian. Last name guy. But no, he shipped it with the weapons in the hands, and there's like little cracks on the hinges. Whether that was before or after shipping, I don't know. I have to assume it was because of shipping with the weapons in the hands, so I'm a little pissed at him for that. But all in all, good. I had to do the little trick where you shock oil the hips because this thing could support a 110-pound dumbbell with the hip ratchets he has.
Wait,
and-
what a trick where you hit up your friend for the box and the minifigures?
Have I finished yet?
Oh, I'm sorry.
According to the number of paper towels you went through, I would assume yes.
Ooh,
Wow.
sad. Did you hear that? Over here.
Don't you worry, I recover fast.
I've heard that about you.
But no, Lance was generous enough to hook me up with because we have our own little trading system where I give him a bottle of bourbon and I just get stuff he doesn't have use for anymore or anything like that, and I give him his favorite bourbon, Town Branch.
It's so good. So good.
And because we live only an hour away from each other, it's easy to just, drive up and be like, hey, here's some booze. But he is hooking me up with the box and the mini vehicles from Assaulter. Because I'm just such a huge fan projects mark that I like to have everything together with whatever fans project piece I have.
Those little fans project third-party headmasters, the chunk-sized ones, were awesome figures.
They were amazing. So it's funny. Nate and I talked about that a couple of days ago. I still have my fans project code because I got code and I got.
He's the best out of all of them.
Absolutely. Before Hasbro came out with their Titans Return line, which was pretty much all headmasters for everybody.
But they had the Generations brainstorm before that too.
Yeah.
Which that's my brainstorm.
So that's a Voyager class brainstorm. The only reason he isn't my brainstorm, and I pawned him off on my child because yes, I do that. I wanted to make sure all of my headmasters were in the same scale. And so my Autobot ones, I got all of the mainline Autobot ones, but I ended up with Fans Project Robin and Fans Project Code that I needed to sell off. And I only sold off Fans Project Robin, but I still have a Fans Project Code kicking around with repro labels that I just realized I still had this weekend when my son and I went through a bunch of boxes looking for Nate's Fans Project Assaulter box and minifigures.
And I appreciate you taking that time to do that. I mean, I would have been happy to, wait until quarantine's over and then come up and do it, myself, so you didn't have to go through the trouble. But you have no idea how much I do appreciate it.
You know, honestly, Noah, my son, absolutely loves going through all of my old Transformers, so he was thrilled to do it.
Excellent. The other thing that I picked up this week, and I'm super happy about, is for just a few bucks shipped, was a Armada Star Saber Minicon team. And this guy posted on the boards and was like, yeah, I have these. I don't care about them. They're super cheap. And Dustin hooked me up with the Chaos Saber team, which was awesome. I was able to get the Energon Saber team from TFW boards. And I'm just like, I'm all about collecting these Saber teams from the Unicron trilogy. And obviously there's some I'll never be able to get because there were a couple that were like the Takara Lucky Draws. And, Lucky Draws are only manufactured at 5 pieces per run?
Yeah.
But so that's pretty much my haul for the week. The Saber and Assaulter. And I love it.
Nice.
So I did want to just bring up some, I guess, a little bit of newsworthy stuff. Who around here has watched the Scorponok review?
I have.
And
No.
I have two.
say again, Wade. You kind of broke up there.
No, I didn't get to.
Okay. So what are your guys' opinions?
It's perfect.
Yep.
Wonderful. I'm so much looking forward to it. It's insane. Scorponok
mold or
City
reach?
box that I need.
It's a completely new mold.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's a completely new mold. I think it's Omega Supreme.
I think the
tweaked.
shins are from Omega Supreme, but that's about it.
I don't know, man. They
it's
almost
fantastic.
detail the same as the G1 toy. Like, damn near, with extra detail, obviously, but it's damn near the G1 toy.
Yep.
I disagree. I have the G1 toy. It is not near the G1 toy. It surpasses it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the details that the G1 toy has, like, all of those are present.
Yeah,
and then
I think
extras.
that. So Prime versus Prime was the one that I think had it.
Yeah.
And especially down when it gets to that detail on the upper thigh, like that's molded detail for for the recent toy, but it was sticker previously.
Right.
It's friggin' fantastic. The only thing that I didn't see is if it had a missile pod, which do I care whether or not it has a missile pod at this point? No.
No, it was really good. Like, it looks really good. I'm super excited.
I am excited for it as well. One of the things that I also wanted to bring up, I think this is just because I care about it. I watched a review for Toy World's new Legends Transmetal Megatron. Yeah. And I am thoroughly impressed by that thing. It is a little too small for my tastes, and especially when you get into some of the Legends figures, like that Megatron is $40. I don't know. I don't know that it's worth it, especially since I just got the actual Takara Metals Megatron, which didn't have the GPS problems that the original one did, for a great price. I don't know. That's what I'm still thinking about.
Wait, I don't want that Legends retro.
And that goes perfectly into what I was about to ask you. When I have guests on, I like to, because we had this big discussion about want lists, I categorize want lists into three categories. Gotta have it now. When I see a good deal, I'll grab it. And things that are just on the extreme back burner and maybe someday. What's in those three categories for you?
Okay. I feel like because it's like as I become more of an adult, i.e. approaching 40, I find my taste not like wandering, but it's one of those if I catch a good deal, I'll pick it up. You guys keep talking about Scorponok. I've wanted to make toys Pandanus for like a long time. Really long time.
Such an impressive figure.
But I'm just like, and I hate to say this, like my wife and I are both essential workers. We've not been laid off. If anything, I've worked more. So I have like extra disposable income, and I'm just waiting for like these same fire sales you get like 2 weeks before Christmas. People need Christmas money. You're like, all right.
Yep.
I'm just waiting. $200 shipped. I'll give it to you right now. Like,
yep.
Right.
You know, but gotta have it now. I'm really, 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 I don't know. I like to get my hands on a couple of Hot Toys Iron Man armors, but the more expensive ones. But so I don't know. Is there anything that I need right this second? Like, what am I looking for when I go to the store? Damn, that's a good question. Like, I don't know. I have a credit card. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those, like, I can always buy at this point. Like, I could just buy if I wanted something, and then it's just, I don't know if I could get my hands on all of, like, the MP Soundwave tapes, or I kind of regret selling my Masterpiece Dinobot. I'd like to get that back.
All right.
And then I'm super looking forward to the Masterpiece Tigertron. I got him. I forget what the price was, but off of Amazon.jp, and maybe I think it was like I think it was under 200. If I'm being honest. Same thing with that Fans Toys Thomas. He's 156 shipped from Amazon.jp.
That's crazy. Right. I find that crazy. Whereas he's, it's there's a quarter of that markup everywhere else.
Yes.
And just I find that insane.
Oh,
I look forward to.
I think, but hold on. I didn't even mean to interrupt you, but I want to get my hands on right now Hot Toys Mark I Hulkbuster. The Hulkbuster came out a couple of years ago, but it just released in Hong Kong. The re-release with the little Veronica, the punching arm, and the arm that grabs the Hulk's hand. The re-release is like $1,200 with all those extra parts. So it's out. It just needs to work its way back to the States and get released by Sideshow. I'd love to have one. So I've been like combing the boards. I've been all over eBay. Like, all right, motherfuckers, this is out. So, obviously the price when the first one came out, it was $800.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been marked up quite a bit because it was a hard action figure to find. Well, now it's being re-released. Like, I don't need all the extras. So, like, all right, I'm willing to pay like $800 or $900 because it's like die cast. It's like 2.5 feet tall. It comes with the like the Mark 42 bust that goes like the whole chest opens up. It's this awesome figure.
And you can actually fit a Hot Toys Iron Man in the suit, which I find insane.
Inside of it. Yep. So it's like I'm on eBay going, all right, someone's gonna these assholes on eBay are still trying to sell it for like $1,600, $2,000. Like, guys, it's just a patient game for me, but like I would love to get my hands on one. I'm waiting for someone to be like, the price is gonna drop on this, the bottom's gonna drop out. So I keep going on eBay every day to see if I'm gonna be there when the bottom drops out on these things.
Right.
Yep.
If I could get my hands on one right now, that's what I would buy.
I seen one in person when my comic shop had it in, man, and I was just like, wow. Like, it's incredible.
I don't want to see one in person because then I'd be like, oh, I'd want it. I could never have it.
I had those two Jokers, those Hot Toy Jokers. I spent $1,000 on both of them shipped, and then I was trying to get money back or trade them for a Hulkbuster. And like the amount of disrespect you get from people. Like, one guy was like, "All right, I'll give you like $700 for both of them."
We were talking about this in the group chat, right? You were, that listing that you were talking about in the group chat. Yeah.
I ended up selling them separately for like $1,300. I sold them both separate, which is like, guys, I'm not hard on. I always tell somebody like, listen, I know you're trying to strike a deal. I'm saying no. I get it. It's almost the same way with eBay when somebody says they make an offer and they won't take anything less than $5 less than what their offer is.
Yeah.
Their max amount is like. Or do you guys ever sell something? Say you're selling it for $100, and somebody like private messages you, and they're like, "Will you take $95?" Like, are you haggling me for $5? Like, that's just a power move. That's not even about money at that point.
Yeah, I've had it a few times actually.
That's just disrespectful.
And I guess I think this point may have been brought up in the chat altogether. It does differ a little bit on the scale of the item that it is. And
Nate likes bigger items.
One of you guys go to the movies and they're having this thing at the movie theater?
Lance, are you in front of a TV now or something?
My wife is now watching 90 Day Fiance. So real quick, let's have a consensus. Ed and Rosemary, do we think they'll last?
All right, Lance.
I think you're ruining my podcast, jerk.
You were saying we were kind of talking about it in the group chat. What's that?
Yeah. No. I think the scale of the item does differ a little bit. If I get what you're saying about how if it's like 90 and then someone says 85 or someone if you're selling 95, someone says 90. Yeah, I mean, if I'm selling something for $1,200 and someone comes back with $1,100, then probably not gonna. I mean, that's a little different. The smaller things I'm more inclined to work with, but I get the point you're trying to make. Not trying, that you are making.
Right. It's aggravating to no end, but if I could get some of these people that that's what really sucks about the Hot Toys market though, is that that Iron Man Mark 47 from Spider-Man Homecoming. That shit was going for $1,500. That was a mint, and they just the re-release is coming in October for $340 or whatever. So you lost your ass on that.
Oh, yep. Yeah. Dustin, is there any other news that you want to update with the Spawn Kickstarter campaign?
The Spawn Kickstarter, let me see here, because I had it kind of pulled up a little bit. So the only thing they've added since last week is the foil stamped comic book cover now.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So all the comic book covers are going to be foil stamped. And the modern Spawn, the regular modern Spawn, does come now with the regular Al Simmons head. That is not. So
Michael J. Whitehead.
Yep. Well, no, like a comic book version of it, but
so that's just modern Spawn, not the classic Spawn.
Right, because the classic Spawn comes with the masked head and the screaming hamburger head.
The stitched up head.
Yeah. What?
Okay.
Sorry.
Is it the one that's stitched up in the middle?
No,
stitches.
That one's the modern Spawn. So modern
Spawn.
Yeah,
that's the modern Spawn.
And the human Al Simmons. And classic comes with the screaming head and the masked head. So
what
now
are you in for? All three?
No, I got the classic and the modern and one autograph. So I'm in for $120 on this now.
That's not bad though. Shit.
No, not really. And you're talking. I get two figures. Between the two figures, 6 pairs of hands each, 2 heads each, exclusive weapons for all of them. So 4 different weapons they come with, multiple necro energy burst effects.
So as long as they're on par with the figure arts, you're at least making the money. You're at least getting your money's worth.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm tempted. I'm still just I don't know. It's I'm not a huge fan of Spawn, so that's why I haven't dove into it. But
Nate, you gotta understand. There's 2 words I'm gonna tell you that every toy collector needs to fear, and it's called the latex. If you don't buy in now, the latex, you're gonna be like, shit, I want that so bad, and it's now it's $400.
Yep. No, I know.
I have attempted to explain that to Nate multiple times across multiple figures. He still doesn't get it.
What I'm going to tell you, you can do. Listen, man, buy in, get it. Just don't even think about it. Buy in. The day it comes, when you open the brown shipper box, if you're not feeling it, take a picture of it, put some tape on it, and put it up on eBay or the group for $5 more than what you paid for it, and somebody will buy it in 15 minutes. It's not all you're losing is your time. But you can't get that back.
That's true. That is very true.
It's impossible to get it back. But if you there, how many times have you ordered a figure a figure gets announced, you watch the reviews, you buy it, you bring it home yourself, you open the box and you're like I blew my load. I just don't care about this anymore.
Very few times.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying though is that it just, or you open it up and you play with it and it goes on the shelf and then it's like, all right, well, if you loved it as much on the shelf as you loved it, the idea, the latex is a bitch. So it's like, if something like this Spawn Kickstarter, they don't come around often. Just pay the money, get it. Don't even think about it. It's not like that it's not like the Hasbro or Takara Unicorn. It's like $600. We're not talking anything crazy like that.
Yeah,
but
no,
that's
I mean,
another one.
If I just order one, it's only $57 shipped. So it's like
right. And then if you sell it for $65, you make your money back and it covers the shipping. And then all you were out is your time.
You could probably sell it for more than that. Look at the latex on that classified Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, day one, if you don't want to get accused of scalping or being a dick, you just want to make your money back, you can do that.
But if I sit on it for 6 months, then I could probably make a killing off of it.
Or I always say that's a $56 investment in really good trading bait to just sit around. Don't even sell it. Just be like, hey, I got this for trade. What will you give me for this?
Yep.
You want to talk about someone who's got a lucky draw Star Saber sitting around?
Right.
That's fair. That's beyond fair.
So, in general, Vince McMahon loves big sweaty men.
Yes.
So I don't know where that fits in, but I'm sure it does.
All right. And I think on that note, ladies and gentlemen, for the BTW Beers, Toys, Wrestling Podcast, I'm Nate Gleason.
BWT. Sorry, BWT this time.
Yes. Right. Yep. BWT this time. I'm Nate Gleason, joined with Lance Johnson.
I tried to get him to make it BBW, but he wouldn't like that.
Yikes. Okay, so I'm Nate Gleason. I'm with Lance Johnson. I'm with Dustin Hayward. Special guest Wade Fry. Ladies and gentlemen, this is on YouTube. We have to appease to the YouTube gods. Like, comment, tell us what you want to see more of. Tell us when you want to hear Lance shut the fuck up.
More racially charged WWE talk.
Yeah, and or if you just want racially charged WWE talk, go just tell us more or less, and we'll do that.
That's good shit.
That is good shit. We will talk to you next week.